Welcome. My name is Emma and I'm a trauma-informed prenatal yoga teacher and a holistic health and life coach. I also do energy healing and somatic therapy. And today I am going to talk to you guys about 3 things that I do as a holistic health coach regularly for my well-being. I do just want to start off by saying these things do not happen every day for me. Some days I have lots of energy and I feel motivated, and some days I do not. And some days I'm feeling down and beating myself up like a regular human, and some days I feel empowered along my health journey. And just because I'm a holistic health and life coach does not mean that I'm perfect and I do these things every single day. And you should not beat yourself up either if you're not getting the things done that you wish or hope to be doing. I always like to say that if you're trying to be better, then you're doing it. You're doing great as long as you're trying. So the first and one of the greatest things I've ever done for my gut health is taking a daily probiotic and prebiotic. And so I take the brand Seed. It's been such a transformative thing on my gut healing journey, and it's really something that was a requirement for me. I have been taking antibiotics off and on for UTI infections since I was literally 15 years old. And something that the doctors never told me was the recovery time and what antibiotics were actually doing to my gut and what good bacteria was and bad bacteria. I had no idea. I was just prescribed these antibiotics and I knew that it made me feel better, but I was continuing to get the infections over and over and over again because what they were doing was actually just depleting the good bacteria in my gut, and I wasn't able to recover because I didn't know the steps to be able to rebuild my gut microbiome. And so when I started taking them, my gut was so happy. So I was struggling with bloating and indigestion and all of the things and my regular infections that I always got. And so what the probiotic and the prebiotic do is the probiotic is the good bacteria, and then I say that the prebiotic is like the fuel for the probiotic. And so something to know is that if your probiotic has less than 50 billion cultures, then it's your bad bacteria in your body is probably going to fight them all off before it actually even gets to your gut. So I always say get one with at least 50 billion cultures in it, and that's how you know that it's gonna make it there, hopefully. And another thing to know is that when you're taking antibiotics, it actually takes your gut 6 months to recover from taking those antibiotics. So if you're the kind of person like me who has taken so many antibiotics in your life, your gut microbiome is probably begging for some probiotics. So I always talk about in my coaching calls, we talk about how individual you are, and we find the supplements that work for you. And I am not a doctor, I am not your doctor, so you should always consult your doctor, and I'm sure that they'll say a probiotic is beneficial. The next thing that I do regularly is somatic practices. So when I learned in my yoga practice that we hold energy, emotions, and trauma inside of our bodies, it was groundbreaking for me. It was a wake-up call for noticing what are all these symptoms that I've been having my whole life, and what are they asking of me? What are they trying to tell me? And so when I learned that the body is actually just trying to give you messages of, hey, this needs attention, it was absolutely transformative. And so I started to look into somatic practices and how you can release things from your body, release emotions and energy and trauma. So something my therapist told me was that emotions are really just energy and motion. They want to be moved through your body. They need to be moved through your body, or else they'll get stored there. And what happens when you store energy, trauma, or emotions in your body is it begins to manifest physically. So say you're holding fear. You're holding lots of fear in your body and you're not allowing that to be released from your body, you're probably going to have some hip problems. You're going to maybe have sciatic pain or low back pain. And so that's how it's manifesting as physically. And when you start to have that pain, it's kind of like a messenger telling you, hey, there's something that needs to be moved through here. And then they can also show up as bigger things. So say you're having, you have a mass in your bladder. Well, what is your bladder? What emotion is your bladder attached to? Well, it's shame and it's guilt. And so what are the things that you felt shameful or guilty of in your life that need to be felt or moved through? And so these things can feel really, really huge. And especially if you've gone your whole life and you've not known this or not felt your feelings fully, something that I want to make sure you know is that you don't need to remember your trauma. You don't need to know exactly what those emotions are attached to and go back to that place to be able to release them from your body. So somatic practices that I love to do are shaking your body, shamanic shaking, like literally putting on a song and just shaking your whole body out however it wants to move. Another thing is yoga. You can practice yoga or breath work. So I do a conscious active breath work, and it is so powerful for releasing. You practice this breath for like 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden you begin to feel your energy shift. Your body will get some cold, and maybe you'll tense up and you'll start to release noises from your body, and this is energy being moved through your body. Another thing is to just dance it out. Find a song that feels good, or maybe a song that feels sad, and just allow yourself to be in that emotion of sadness or anger or fear or happiness and joy, and allow your body to move in the way that it wants to, because it knows what it needs. And so when we can take the mind out of this picture and really drop into our body, that's when we get to release things and free ourselves from what's holding us back. So the third thing that I always do regularly for my well-being is prioritize my relationships. And so what I mean by that is, if there is tension in one of the relationships in my life, all of my energy goes to that space to try my best to repair what's maybe happened. And so something to just kind of know. So if you're in a romantic relationship and it's toxic, or maybe you just had a big fight or a big argument, notice how everything else in your life seems to be put on pause. And you feel like you can't move forward until this thing is fixed, or everything feels just less than when you're having this tension in a relationship. And so this goes for not just romantic relationships, but friendships and your family relationships, whether you know it or not. Sometimes it's just our romantic relationships that feel more prominent because those people are usually closest to us. We spend the most time with them, or whatever it is. And so if you can try your best to have as much peace and as much love in all of your relationships, and put your energy into repairing those relationships when they seem to have broken down a little bit, notice how everything in your life seems to be a little bit easier. So one time I heard that relationships are literally the most important thing that you can cultivate on this planet. Money's not as important, material goods are not as important. So imagine if the world came crashing down and money wasn't a thing. There was a food shortage. It was the worst thing you could imagine. Well, what would be important at that point? Well, it would be, who are you going to be surrounded by? What is the health of your relationship? Do you have an unconditional loving relationship? And so my mind goes into that place, because when we have support from our loved ones, that's when we truly get to thrive. So those are my 3 things. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram at @IamEmmaJohnston, and maybe check out my website, emmajohnston.net. We'll see you on the next video. Namaste.